Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jako with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. We got Dan Butler again, and we're gonna go off into the realm of not only Earth but also space and what that looks like. There's a lot of different ideas about that. We're stimulating conversation, stimulating a lot of things. Let's jump in, Dan.
Hey, how we doing, everybody? Once again, I'd like to come on and talk about the things that are, everyone's so triggered by the different conspiracies, and one of them we all know is flat Earth. Everyone, so many different videos, so much research you can do. Check it all out. Go back. I urge you to go back and look for yourself on it, and not just think of it as such a silly thing. A lot of people from the get-go, they're misled to think that it's a disc in space, and the whole theory still says that space isn't around the Earth. Space isn't what we think it is. So let's just get into that today and just kind of, dive into one of the topics of flat Earth, and you go back and learn on your own of what flat Earth is. If you need a crash course and that, go back, take some time. Don't think it's just as stupid as you think, and actually learn for a minute. And, there's certain topics about it today that I want to kind of bring up in particular that I feel like a lot of other researchers that they don't touch on this. So let's jump into a little, and then during the end, we're going to tie it back in to kind of all the things we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. I kind of been doing this, building this narrative for everyone to kind of see that this is all one story in the end. This is our story. It's not his story. It's our story. All right.
Nice.
So let's do it. Let's share screen real quick. Pop over here. Boom, boom. Perfect. All right. So let's just start out once again with like a little quote kind of thing for fun and go from here. We all know this great guy, Tesla. I just like this one a lot.
What we now want is closer contact and better understanding between individuals and communities all over the earth, and the elimination of egoism and pride, which is always prone to plunge the world into primeval barbarism and strife. Peace can only come as a natural consequence of universal enlightenment.
Boom. So I thought that was cool. And that's what I want this to do, enlighten us and bring us together. Even if it's not a truth, we find a truth in it somehow, though. And that's the part that unites us. And it's the most important part about all this is uniting ourselves into one consciousness again, so we can understand things better. Simply. And so, it's just funny how, we'll go right into it. Like I said, go back. If you don't know anything about the flat Earth at all, you go back and get into some of it yourself. This is more like, let's talk about some parts of it now. That's not like, oh, this is a car. Let's talk about the engine of this car. That's where we're at with this today. We're not just talking about, oh, their cars are real. If you don't, go back and do some studying. So let's start again with a little laugh. This is always funny. Mike, this one. I know you like this. This is funny.
If a building is in Manhattan is lower than about 6 stories, doesn't need a water tower. It's the height of the reservoir that's feeding Manhattan has that elevation above Manhattan.
Gotcha.
So the water
pressure
falls,
is already there.
The water falls.
So I just want to stop here. We all know this kind of stuff. I'm just going to start with this. One of the biggest tall tale things to learn about all this, and why you should learn a little more, maybe why there's some things to it not being round, is use your eye properly and look and see what water always seeks level. It's just an undeniable fact. Okay. So, if it's a curved earth, and that city's curved and it's over a little way from the other water, wouldn't the water only be falling straight down, but it still has pressure around the bend? I mean, things like that don't work with their dynamics, but yet this works in our reality all the time. We do this every day. It's because it all has the same pressure from above, from the same spot. If it had different areas pushing on the pressure, it would be sprouting off in different directions. It doesn't think about it for a minute. Think about water pressure. Think about how it always finds level no matter what.
From the reservoir into your faucet over that height. And you know something? The ancient Romans knew that. The aqueduct. And you know something? The ancient Romans knew that. The aqueduct.
The natural physics of water is to find and maintain its level. If Earth were a giant sphere tilted, wobbling, and hurtling through infinite space, then truly flat, consistently level surfaces would not exist here.
We'll keep going. And we'll just keep going with this. Let's just keep going for a minute. So we're getting into the idea of the flat Earth and all that, but I'm trying to build up to a little narrative here. What I want to show you is some other damning evidence that I believe that a lot of the flat Earth people are kind of not mixing together into there yet. And I think when we do this in a minute, this is going to be good. So let's jump in again here. This is just a little bit of a thing I think you guys should go back and watch to learn about flat Earth. If you need a reference at all, there's 2 videos out there now. The second one just came out. It's called The Next Level. The first one was called Level, and it has a ton of like flat earther researchers in it. But most of those guys aren't just flat earther researchers. They're geniuses in their fields. Santos, a lot of those guys, so they're all in this research. They're all into this. And that's not the only research you're into. These things all lead to one story in the end. And it's not because people go, why the lie? It's probably mainly because there's more land than we were told. Like, the story, Mike, with Admiral Byrd. And we all know this stuff, okay? It's probably that in the end, that there's just a ton more land, and this is a control factor for your mind to tell you live in this bubble. It's a reality bubble, It's a planet. It's not the plane of existence. It's just a little piece of it. It's an a planet. So all these games are played on you in your mind, and you accept this all the time. So here's a little preview for the second one called The Next Level. This is just a cool intro just to get our juices flowing here, and then we're going to go right to the topic where I want to talk today.
Close your eyes and just, am I moving? Am I spinning? It's that easy. We're not.
The Earth is stationary, and that is scientific, not pseudoscience.
The Earth is spinning at 1,040 miles an hour. You can't feel it. You can't measure it. You can't observe it. You can't repeat it. But trust us.
People are just deceived. I grew up from Cuba. They gave them a globe at graduation to take home like an inflatable beach ball.
So why are they teaching the globe model? Well, the globe is a container, and it's a container of all the known land.
If there's more land. In the late 1800s, they were talking about more land beyond Antarctica.
The North Pole
Is a very glamorous destination.
What if we all took our compasses out and just followed them until it stops?
I'll stop there with that. We'll keep going. But that's a great documentary in general. Those are great people in there. So that just touches you into the flat Earth. You can learn more about it. Okay. From there, go back, watch the first one, Level, and the second one, The Next Level. And you'll get to where this might be some kind of possibility in your mind of not just a stupid joke anymore, And that's the first factor, is breaking the mind barriers, the triggers that you've done to yourself by accepting all these things that you think everyone else knows for you. Oh, they've done it. They've always done it. This is the biggest problem we have with everything. Do research and see. And let's go into the first 2-3 minutes of this video and watch how beautifully this guy portrays how it's all happened through history.
Yeah, and you're right, Dan, because people want something solid. They don't want to like explore anymore. They want the thing.
Right.
I used to get this all the time when I was in the military. So even SEALs are like this. That you think they would be the most creative and open-minded people. No, they wanted the thing, and they didn't want anything else. That's like going to first grade and going, I want everything I need to learn in first grade.
Right.
And I don't want to learn anything else because I just want it everything I want it now. And so you're stuck in first grade.
And speaking of first grade,
this is first grade stuff right here.
Right. And imagine this. Think about this deeply. Speaking of first grade, why would you be given a globe at such young of an age like that, other than to play with it like a beach ball? You don't know geopolitical. You have no concept of any of those things, but they're already indoctrinating you with something, because you're going to need this later like that. But that's mind comp. That's when you trigger people to believe things that aren't real. You have to get them to believe it when they're young or when they don't understand the rest of the logic or anything to compare it to. Then they use that as a staple in their reality later. It's like people learn about certain religions and then later they lose that religion. 15, 30 years go by, and when they're faced with death again in life, they will convert back to that religion again in the last minute, because that's what their staple of their life was in the beginning. Even though they might not, use that religion their whole life, but the last second they will go, God, please again, save me that way, because it's a thing you learned when you were a child. You're going to revert back to these things, and you're going to say, this is already known knowledge, move on. Same with the globe. They always give you that little ball and you're playing with it. You don't know about that stuff yet. I mean, how about we learn how to spell, do all this stuff? But they always involve that too. The heliocentrical model. It's always been put there since it was invented. The model was invented. It wasn't. Think about it, So let's go jumping into this real quick, just because these are beautiful visuals right here. And these, like I said, I really appreciate all the other people that put the time and research in online all the time. I like to use their stuff as references instead of, I could put something together too and say, oh, I did all this, but it's not my knowledge. The knowledge is there. It's beautiful to learn the knowledge. That's what it should be. So let's use someone else's beautiful, work they've done and learn from it.
Hey, thanks for joining me. Hope you're doing well. There is a firmament or dome encasing our flat plane. The firmament is described in the Bible's creation narrative. Then God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." In Egyptian mythology, Nut is the goddess of the sky. She is seen star-covered, arching over the earth, representing its dome. In Greek mythology, Uranus was the primeval god of the sky. The Greeks imagined the sky as a solid dome of brass, whose edges descended to rest upon the outermost limits of the flat earth. Uranus was the literal sky, and Gaia the earth. In the Roman era, he was often depicted as Eon, god of eternal time.
And so right there, even so, God, and they say the Gaia, a lot of times Gaia is really Mars, really. And so we're learning that whole story, how we can tie that into these other conspiracy theories, how there was Tiamat and, they blew each other up in the battle and we escaped from Gaia, all these other ideas. And that the terrarium you're in now is why it's not like a planet, because it's a terrarium. It's a life-saving ship, almost, if you will, that took people that weren't going to make it. So about a lot about that, Mike. We've talked for years about this stuff.
It's good stuff. You're branching into it, so it's kind of probably going to pique some people's interest in that. But yeah, there's a lot more. We're talking War of the Worlds, Draco and all kind of stuff. It goes much bigger, guys. So yeah, what Dan is getting at is basically trying to broaden everybody's perspective so that once we start to talk about alien races and how we're basically descendants of alien races, then it's not so much of a stretch. So we're starting to teach.
Right. And just like you said right there, to take that to another low level, the idea with this alien race, coming from somewhere else, they will point to the stars and they will point to those certain stars and say, I'm from there. That doesn't not mean that that's not a spot on the ground somewhere else. As above, so below. That way, they're not lying to you when they tell you this deception too, though. They're in places you can't get to physically on the plane of existence, other lands. And in the sky, as we're going to learn, this is what I'm going to tie all this into, showing you that the dome is really showing the stars in the sky are the reflections above, as above, so below. So when they tell you they're from that star, they're not lying, but that doesn't mean that you go to that star to get to where they're from. It's still a map. The sky is a map of the world, the plane of existence. So let's look a little bit about that for a second.
Form of a man holding the Zodiac wheel, standing above Gaia. The Hebrews believed the sky was a solid dome. They called this solid vault of heaven the Rakia, with the sun, moon, and stars beneath. In Indian mythology, the dome is called Brahmanda. This is the structure of the world according to Finnish mythology, showing a dome with the stars projected onto it. In the Aboriginal conception of the world, the earth was circular and flat, covered by the dome of the sky, which stretched out to the horizon. And there have been many ancient artifacts found, which the mainstream has called stone handbags. But as you can see, there's no area to even carry anything. These were not handbags. They're artistic depictions of the dome here on flat Earth. So many ancient peoples knew about this dome and wove it into their worldview. The elite would have us believe that these are just made-up cosmologies, invented by peoples who were too scientifically ignorant to understand reality. But there is no coincidence that the same description of a flat Earth and dome is so common. These cultures around the world had special knowledge about the nature of this place we are living in. The dome is connected to catastrophes that have been recorded throughout the ages.
So go stop there again, which we talked about last time, which was the mud floods and the idea of the sky coming down and flooding. And it's in every religion. We're repeating the same thing over and over through history. We have to learn that these things come in cycles and that this is a true story and that this is not, we're not just like a spitball flying through space going wild. I mean, think about that too. You can do your own research later and learn. We spin this way 66.6 million, it's all 666s in the end too. And they're just messing with your head there. You got to think about that. If you go in your mind, you go, yeah, the scientists have figured it out. I understand that. But then you look what they figured out and then it's all 666s and stuff. You're going, okay, that's a little bit of a stretch there. That's crazy talk. Okay. That's just in your face, satanic stuff. They're just doing it to you, and they hope you don't dig that deep. And when you do, it's still blatant in your eye, and they just laugh at you, basically. If you think that that's the way things really are, keep thinking that. And they're all based on theories like gravity. We'll talk about that another time, deeper even, but I want to jump where we're going to go right now. So let's keep going here. Okay, look at something like this. Everyone, look at how when you watch a water drop in slow, very slow, look how what actually happens here the drop doesn't just fall in the water. It recesses and it goes, usually like 1/3 itself. It starts to drop down as a fractal. And I want you to remember that in your mind later. See this in super slow? Watch what it does. You would think, oh, I know this already, Dan. I've seen this. Well, watch what it does next. Once the tension pops, see, it's 1/3 of itself now. These are very important things to understand. That could not happen that same way with gravity, the way they're explaining it. That would just not do it that way, Everything's breaking down. Look into the smallest drop. And that's all happening in the most fraction of a second when you see the one drop only, So water does amazing things that we are not capable of truly understanding all the way. And we know that, and it's our consciousness too. It's the part of our bodies that is like the liquid antenna. Remember this about water. There's not many things in this world that can go through all three states, liquid, gas, and solid. Most of them can do two of the three. And because water can do all three, it's a living, natural plasma crystal. And that is a transceiver or like a receiver to your body, just bringing in your consciousness, If anything was ever going to be called the Akashic, the true Akashic, it would be the waters that remember everything. That's my belief.
Absolutely.
So let's go forward again. I think this one's just awesome to get right into it. This is a commercial from Hennessy, of all things. It's an alcohol company, and they're showing you the Great Picard. You can look that up if you haven't seen it before. Picard went up into the air. He was going to reach, heights that man has never reached and observe things. So you can check all that out. But here's a tribute to him that Hennessy did. But look at this commercial. Look at what they're showing. I mean, this is beautifully done.
Mm-hmm.
You see that there's some symbology here. I pause it. You see the background that there's a curved earth, and you see this. They're shattering the illusion of that in your mind right there. This is all symbology. In this reflection of the water, there's a curved earth, and he's breaking that boundary in your mind. And it also showed an eyeball right there. Your eye is the same dynamics. Everything is in fractals. That's why I was talking about the water drop getting littler. Everything is like that. Your eye is the same as what you're living inside of. Think about things like that. Your eye is a dome. From the side, it has a flat part in the middle and a round hole in the middle, like the North Pole. That's what you're truly seeing photons through. How is it not the same? They showed it. They want to show you this. They want to show you these things. They want you to get it. Some alcohol, don't worry. No, but so what they showed even at the end, they showed his son, grandson, and he's looking, he went in a submarine, he goes the other way. So as above, so below, they're both going to the the greatest depths of where the water's edge is. It shows them looking at a violet ray. Those are all things that are deeper connections than we know, I think, in some of that. He's staring into the violet ray, all these things we can talk about later. I just want to push this a little so we have enough time to really get into this. here's a great thing to learn about this. This is a story we all know about a little bit, but we all think it's a little different, I think, than the true story. And so the story being is Atlas. Atlas shrugs, we know that Atlas, he's got the weight of the world on his back. In the true story, it was never the world. The world isn't around. He doesn't have the world on his back. He never had the world on his back. And it's depicted so many times over of him carrying the weight of the world, or this gold ball he's carrying, and it's like wealth or knowledge and all this. When the true story, let's just cut right to this guy's little explanation of it's beautiful, is a great story, and it shows an amazing thing that, check this out.
The image of a man cursed to forever hold the earth on his shoulders is one that many of us may be familiar with. But how many of us actually know the story behind the man? The man this story centers around is in fact not a man at all, but rather a titan known as Atlas. And a common misconception is that it's the earth on his shoulders. But he was actually cursed by Zeus to hold Uranus, the personification of the sky and the heavens, and that is what he bears on his shoulders. He was part of what many considered to be the second generation of Titans, being the son of the Titan Iapetus and Clymene, one of the many daughters of Oceanus, making him the brother to Prometheus, Epimetheus, and Meniotius. It was also believed that Atlas fathered many children, a large portion of them being regarded as nymphs, including the Hesperides, Calypso, and Maia, the mother of Hermes, which would make the messenger god one of Atlas's grandchildren. During the war between the Titans and the Olympians, Atlas and his brother Meniotius sided with the Titans, whereas Prometheus and Epimetheus sided with Zeus. But Atlas was believed to have been one of the main sources of rebellion against the Olympians, potentially even leading the Titans into battle, which is why when the war ended, Zeus made an example of Atlas. His brothers and sisters were banished to Tartarus, but Zeus condemned Atlas to stand on the western edge of the earth and hold the heavens on his shoulders, forever separating Uranus and Gaia. It's because of this that Atlas is often associated with endurance, even sometimes being called Enduring Atlas, a name that is thought to embody his daily struggle and eternal punishment. Atlas was regarded as the bearer of the heavens and had a close link to astronomy. When sailors looked to the sky as a tool of navigation, it was their belief that they were being instructed by Atlas, and the same can be said for farmers when they attempted to measure the seasons. The roles of navigation and measuring the seasons were somewhat combined, as Atlas became the god responsible for turning the heavens on its axis, causing the stars to rotate and revolve. In Homer's Odyssey, Atlas is described as being responsible for holding the pillars that separated the heavens from the earth. But in Hesiod's Theogony, he's instead depicted as bearing the weight of the heavens on his shoulders. The Atlas Mountains, located in northwest Africa, in the regions of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, are often heavily associated with the Titan. It's believed that when the hero Perseus acquired the head of Medusa, he came across Atlas, and when the Titan glanced into the Gorgon's eyes, he was turned into an enormous mountain. This story begins when Gaia gave the goddess Hera a tree full of golden apples as a wedding gift. The tree was guarded by Atlas's daughters, the Hesperides, and was in a location known by very few. The Titan was told by an oracle that one day a son of Zeus would find the tree and attempt to steal the golden apples that his daughters guarded. In order to stop this from happening, he would let no one enter his land, and when Perseus came across Atlas, he denied him any form of hospitality, an action that Perseus of course did not take too kindly. He lifted Medusa's head above his shoulder, showing the Titan, and immediately turning Atlas into an enormous mountain range, a mountain range that we now refer to as the Atlas Mountains. Perhaps the most famous story featuring Atlas was the role he played in the 12 Labors of Heracles. The Greek hero was tasked by King Eurystheus to steal some of the golden apples from the gardens of Hesperides. The apples were guarded by the serpent-like dragon known as Ladon, a foe that Heracles was advised to avoid by Prometheus, who instead suggested that he ask the Titan Atlas for his assistance. In return for the Titan's help, Heracles would take the burden of the heavens from his shoulders. When the Titan eventually returned, he refused to resume his responsibility as the bearer of the heavens. He planned to leave Heracles with the weight of the heavens on his shoulders. By some form of trickery, Heracles convinced the Titan to swap places under the illusion that he could ease the strain on Atlas's shoulders.
So crazy, right? Different story than most people think it is, and what they're showing in the end is that magnetics are things that are powerful. They're considered the Titans, or maybe there was actually beings that were bigger that fell. I mean, when it said in the day there was Titans in those days and they fell and they became the mountains, maybe that's not bullshit. I mean, you think about all these things. I mean, a famous way they find gold even is gold veins, and it's next to other, you know, veins of things inside the mountains. What a trip, you know, it's not just layered. So there's a big possibility that there's a huge lie that we're being told about not just the shape of the earth, but things that are here on earth and what mountains really could be and all this, you know, maybe all these stories from the old aren't just stories, and that there's something huge to all that, you know, that the Titans were real, you know.
It's like Devil's Tower in Wyoming. It's like it looks like and people have said it was a giant tree at one time.
Right, you know it. And so there's something, if you look too, a lot of those big plateaus, they appear to have like tree rings if you could see it from above, and it's like petrified wood, the rock, and it's like if there was giant trees, you know. Look at the movie Avatar, look at all these funny things, oh, these are movies. And then look at old times though, look what the Vikings believed, and you know, the tree of life and all these things. If you could see magnetics from the North Pole and you could actually see it with your physical eye, it would probably look like a big tree with branches coming off of it. So a lot of times when they're speaking of trees too, it might be a magnetic thing that they're talking about, you know, something to consider. And let's push this a little farther. This is really cool just to look at. So let's see what water can do if you drop a disc with a hole in the water just right. Let's see what it does. Look. You know,
looked like a little toroidal field there for a moment too.
Right.
A lot of people have said that the reason why Antarctica is a place where a lot of extraterrestrial life and stuff is coming in and out is because of that toroidal field, the magnetics. You know, they can portal through there, all kind of crazy stuff.
Totally. So that's what my belief is. I don't believe necessarily that it's like a flat thing we live on or around. I believe that the toroidal fields are creating a round effect. If you could see the two toroids from afar, that, you know, they could make a shell and they can make a sphere, but inside there, the dynamics of where the flat plane of existence would be in between the two toroids. Everything would be forced into the plane of equilibrium, into that existence area, you know, and otherwise, while it's in its movement state, it would be a hyperparticle, or it would be a hyper thing that's not almost, you know, congealed with the other atoms around it. And when they come back into that plane again of existence, equilibrium in between the two is where you're having a life, where you're having things that are capable of happening tangibly. So,
very good.
You know, so the idea with that thing we just saw hit the water, let's go into this video. You can do research on this later. This is like kind of from like, you know, the guy that would reveal the old magic tricks. There was like a group of people that would show real magic, and they're trying to change. This is one of the revealings. This is an older video. And it's controversial, but this guy talks over the video because the guy in the video doesn't explain it well. I want you guys to see this and then look again at Masonic teachings and look at their symbologies. And this is what we're going to tie all this into today. They're showing that they already know this. They already know all this stuff. It's a form of understanding the truth and hiding it in plain sight, but looking like, you know, a design or something like that. So this is what all these teachings are about that they have. They're very aware of all these other dynamics of Earth. And this comes from their belief system. So let's watch this in depth and see because, you know, there has to be an explanation why flat or why not. And, you know, if you look at the globe model, there's a whole lot of assumptions and not a lot of real explanations, and not even real photos of Earth. I mean, most of the photos of Earth, if you can look them up and go, oh, this is the photo of Earth, and this, they're digital renderings from information that was scanned, and then they change it into a photo. None of them are an actual photo or an image. So that they're getting you there, and you go, I've seen it. Oh, look again. I don't think you have, you know, not really. I look all the time to see if it comes out, you know, there still isn't any, you know, so come from someone that looks a lot. Trust me, I haven't seen it yet. So let's look at the dynamics of this CD-like object, and let's show what this guy's teaching from it. This is a valuable lesson to learn right here, because this is going to lead into the rest of what I'm teaching right now. So here we go.
Shows a CD or a disc. He immediately draws the geometric shape of an oblate spheroid. We can see how he separates the oblate spheroid with a disc that has a hole in the center. Then, below, he draws a circle with a swastika inside and immediately paints it completely black.
The reason for that being right there with the swastika, you know some of it already. The idea of that being the great attractor, if you can look that up on your own, or that's the real sun. It's the dark star. We call it Lucifer in other terms. That's something we can talk about later. The morning star, the true great attractor here. This is their belief system, and they believe that there's something under us that's creating all the light effects in the sky above you, and it's an illusion. And that's why think about that for a minute. The teachings of Lucifer and the illusions, and it's all illusory. So think about this. It's the black sun.
From this black circle, rays come out and 3 rays pass through the hole in the center. Below he writes, still, one of the possible meanings of this black circle may be the black sun. He draws reliefs on the edge of the hole and writes North Pole. And above this hole inside what would be the celestial vault, he draws a star, the polar star or Polaris. He marks 2 points and connects them in a circle and writes, equator. He draws 2 lines that go down from the polar star to the 2 points. The lines form a triangle.
I'm going to go fast forward now. You guys study this later when you want to. Basically, what he's showing you is the light from the other thing coming out of the North Pole, which we always see the aurora borealis. We're used to knowing that. And, so another thing about Lucifer kind of terms to understand too, is he was always depicted as green, remember that. It was never red horned guy. Those are later depictions from other things. That's not even the same being. The original Lucifer is green, and the magnetics that come from there are green. If you look, there's theories nowadays that almost prove that almost every color now is actually a version of green, except for red. And so red light, there's all these ways they used to measure stars, and now it's all wrong. It's all completely wrong now. They said, oh, the red light, distance and all that. That's wrong. Those are all wrong theories now. So I'm going to go to the end of this video and show you what he's drawn here. Okay. Is what he's saying, and you study this later. What he's saying is that this reflections and the polar star, when they meet in the sky, they create 2 spots in the air, like a cathode and a diode. One is hot and one is not. They both give off their own light, separate entities, and they're actually just hot spots in the air. Like when you take a magnifying glass and you burn ants on the ground, you're taking that same light and channeling it through a lens or off of a lens, and it creates a spot so hot that it can burn ants. It can do that. Light can do that. Light can be centered into a spot that's an illusion. And the sun isn't an illusion. It is a hot spot in the air where other natural forces are crossing and meeting, and where they touch. It's the same as like Project Bluebeam or any of those technologies that we know about now. The holograms meet, and where they meet, it shows physical objects in the air. So this whole guy's theory, this is a Masonic symbol. It's also a pentagram. Look at all the symbols that are hidden in this all at once. And these are all under the idea that the sky above you is like a merry-go-round. Polaris never moves. It's the star it's a fixed star in the sky. And the reason being is it's because the straight light coming out of the hole would always be fixed in that position. The light that's bending off the dome would always bend in all these other ways. And when they meet, it causes all the different effects of the moon phases. They're actually canceling each other out. It's not the reflection of the sun or any of that. So you can study this later and you see, let's look at the end. So you kind of see what I'm getting at now. This is a disc. The black sun is here. It's projecting out light over the dome effect. Domes create these hotspot effects. That's a known thing. That's a known factor. And so let's look now, considering all this, that this is, the dynamics of what they're talking about now, how a dome could be real, magnetics from the center pole, that the great attractor is creating all this. And maybe that's a bigger teaching than them just worshiping a guy that's this horned being, he's down there all mean. That's like silly talk, they probably believe in something much deeper, that the true dynamics of everything, and they know the secret and you don't, kind of thing. So once again, let's just reiterate on some of this real quick and skip to the next video and show an example, a quick beginning example with physical evidence here, how Polaris, the light in the sky, the moon is not what we think. It's a plasma effect, probably more than anything, which now leads us down this whole road. Did they go to the moon? What is the moon? What are all these false thoughts people have in their head of maybe going to the moon? It's not saying that they don't have those thoughts, but why are they implanted to cover up what? What's the point of all hiding what the moon really is? Let's just look at this for a sec. Same idea, but a different person's theory. So I'm going to skip ahead again and pause it. Now, this is a different person. This is Vibes of the Cosmos. They have a great channel you should check out. Me and Mike watch a bunch of these videos together. Remember the one what we're going to get into here? You can't just say that to someone, the things we were talking about, Mike.
Oh, you're building up to this. This is going to, the thing you're about to show is a thing that blew me away. So I'm glad you built up to it, because I was blown away. I was like, what? Now now I'm understanding. So I'm glad you built it up for everybody.
So you got to kind of build a case so you don't just seem too out of your gourd here. So this guy's almost showing the same thing. There's some kind of great attractor. You think about it, even on the heliocentrical model, they tell you there's a core. There's some kind of thing in the middle that's doing all this. So they're not saying it's not there. It's still there to them. It's a nickel core. Blah, blah, blah. That doesn't, think about that on a different way. There can still be a great attractor somewhere causing that without there being a round sphere around it. That doesn't have to be the case. So what they're showing, once again, just to understand this one more time, the refractions off the disk on the dome kind of thing, because, and who's to say it's a disk even? It's a plane of existence. This is just the effect right here that we're seeing, that we're witnessing. I'm not saying this is the end all be all, that's the area. It probably goes in every direction forever, honestly. Who knows? Who are you to know that? You know what I mean? So what we're given and what we have is this area that we're living inside of here. And the effects caused from the great attractor apparently below us are causing the effects in the sky above us. And they're all illusions they're all illusions. It's not what you think. The sun isn't even that far away. Neither is the moon, so let's go down that road a little more. There's just great models of this stuff you can look at that make a lot more sense with all the moon phases and how it actually behaves. This model makes more sense than if it was the Earth doing it. I mean, that doesn't always, those things don't always obey correctly to if it's the Earth's shadow. This makes a lot more sense. It really does. And this is just funny right here. I thought this was funny just to play for a sec. Klaus Donna, back in the day, he showed this one thing, there was this stone map of the Earth and all that, right?
This Berry Race map.
And there's this stone map they made.
Statement that from the northeast Japanese island until far.
And it's just the most amazing map, right? And then you look at the thing from the side, and it's kind of flat. It's just funny. It's like more like maybe they're that smart when they made this on this rock, and they knew that it wasn't a sphere. It was more like a flat piece of rice, or what I mean? There's got to be something else to this whole thing, because we know water seeks level, and we know the Earth does not curve at just a couple miles every 8 inch. All those theories are blowing out the water because they can see too far now with cameras. Before, that was like believable. That's not believable now, because you can zoom in again on these things and refine them past the horizon. So what, the camera bent with the horizon over, no, it's because your angle of vision is what they're counting on, like we taught a couple weeks ago. The all-seeing eye thing is not just ruling you with money from the top down, counting on the fact that you don't know how your eye works. That is the true teaching behind all their mysteries. They understand that you don't get how your eyeballs work. Because if you did, you would know more things about all the illusions around you that seem one way, they're actually another way, like going down a hallway and you see it get tiny in front of you. You know the hallway doesn't shrink, you know, unless you're at Ripley's Believe It or Not and you walk down to the tiny hallway. And when you do that, you get dizzy as shit when you do that right away. It throws you off, right? Correct?
Right. Yep.
That's because you have a visual eye that has to do that for you so you don't fall over all the time. It has to create a vanishing point for you to have a reality bubble. The horizon you see that looks bent is that's your angular end of your vision. There's things past your vision. Think about that, you know, but what you see creates a dome effect around you. That is your reality. That's your dome of enlightenment. Literally, it's your head, it's your eyes, and it as above, so below, you know? And so let's just keep going. I'm trying to squeeze this in here. One more little thing to see before I go right into it. There is an effect that you can do.
That the bubble gives off an incredible. What made the phenomenon so exciting?
So that's a bubble that when you hit it with a sound wave, it creates light. That sounds like biblical, Mike. I mean, come on, you know, let there be light. And he said, let there be light. You know, understand all these things are teachings that seem from another time. And all that. There's actually deep science with all of them. They can create visible white light in a bubble if you hit it with this, collapse it with a sound wave the right way. And there's labs that do that all the time, you know. And let's just look real fast at this. Just keep shotgunning this out here. When you zoom in all the way with this on a star, I mean all the way as far as you can, it never looks like the things that NASA shows or any of that. It becomes to a certain blurry point and it looks like water. It looks like a shining light on waters. Look at this. You can see the rippling. You know, that's a star zoomed in. How is that not almost like a light shining on the waters from above that are separated from the waters below? And those, you know, like when you're a kid and you have the little toy in your room, there's a light inside here and the pinholes and all the pinholes, and then the stars are on the ceiling all around you. It's almost the same effect as that. That's probably why they give you that toy even when you're little, you know, to see this consciousness into your mind. So you think, oh, that's a normal thing and it's like a toy. You know, if anything, maybe the light that's coming, maybe there is a sphere of Earth, but maybe the light is coming from the inside of the Earth out, you know, and it's projecting onto the heavens around you, and those are the stars, and that's part of the lie. You know, maybe that's part of the lie. Look at this. Here's two bulb magnets. When you force plasma through them, they create visible light right in the middle, you know, same as a plane of existence almost, you know.
An
this
experimental
is plasma.
primer fusion reactor.
This is real.
The primer fusion process produces...
Mike knows about this for years. We've talked about these bulb magnets and how all this stuff works. And you can see magnetics don't have to have a magnet to have the properties of magnetism. It can be a force that's just there, right? I mean, so a dome is a natural effect that magnetism would create if it was separating waters, you know what I mean? So let's think again like that. And let's think, why the lie? To control you. Why the lie? Because all these things lead into one thing. It's a technology. It's a healing device. This is the same as what Tesla was talking about. All these things are the same thing. And notice they're bulb magnets, you know? You can take a normal magnet and it won't have these same effects. Right around here. Right here. Look how beautiful this is. I mean, that's real. And look, so the plane of existence is coming out of the, you know, the toroidal fields. All this science is there if you look into it. You know, David LaPointe is a genius guy that I believe that will revolutionize things in the future. That's cold fusion right there, pretty much. Okay, so let's look at this guy real quick. These are all just building this case, and right at the end, we'll just let you have this last 10 minutes of the mind-blowing event here.
And we expect to be able to get observable facts about the moon fairly soon. What is your theory?
Well, it is by now rather more than a theory. 10 or 11 years ago, I stated to various scientists that the moon is not a piece of rock, but it is a plasma phenomenon, cosmic plasma, and that this fact will eventually be confirmed. I made certain predictions which were already confirmed in 1958, and the situation now is coming close to a complete confirmation.
What will be the result if you're proved to be correct in your theories?
The result will be profound and decisive because it will give proof that a complete reinvestigation of the laws of nature is necessary. Because
so hear what he said. Even this is a guy from back then. They called him a quack. Even this is before people landed on the moon, a little bit before. And he's asked even what are you going to do when they land on the moon? He said they're not going to land on it. It's an image. It's a superimposed image in the sky. And so now that we're building up to all this, not just the flat earth is what's important about all this. It's to understand a couple things about your life and maybe why this is all real. That they can take every continent known on earth, and there's other areas that it shows on the moon, and they can superimpose it in reverse as if it's a reflection on the moon. When me and Mike watched this, we were just taken back because it goes down to almost every bay in the world. Those are all. So look again at the moon when you see it full. And think about an X-ray. When you see an X-ray, you wouldn't show the waters. It's the continents and the land area without the waters there. That is an X-ray superimposed onto the sky. The sky, like I told you before in some of the last video we watched, was the noble gas thing. When a Tesla coil gets near noble gases, it ignites them. It turns into a blue sky. Same with this effect. This is creating layers of the atmosphere, the seven heavens, the nine shells, whatever you want to call it. Let's look at this real quick and see what this says.
We always see the same face of the moon. That happens because the moon is a cosmic plasma phenomenon. The moon is not land, but a focused electromagnetic energy light with its own phases. It takes place in a semi-ethereal toroid field above because of the electromagnetic energy that comes from below our level plane.
Apologize for
There's more
those.
to life than your farm.
They get us there. All right.
On the face of the moon, we can see the material field that is below the world that we live in, mirrored, working like a level Earth selfie. The moon is focused electromagnetic phenomenon.
Okay, so what you just said, like selfie. Think about that again, from the projection from under onto the screen above, showing itself in reverse. Literally, sailors used to know this in other times, that the moon was a map of the world. That's an ancient, secret that they used to. The map of the world is the moon showing itself in the sky. It is not a solid object. And so understand some of this and look into the research and learn about that. Look what she shows right here. Let's.
Cosmic electromagnetic energy comes from below, black sun, and hits the inner side of our toroidal field. There is a prismatic refraction of this cosmic energy there that separates it to plus and minus, creating the sun and the moon at two moving spots with shape-like lenses below, where they are focusing. The moon is a live reflection of the Earth like a mirrored X-ray. In this way, it reveals to us all part of the terrestrial and oceanographic surface of the Earth.
Here's where you really physically see it.
Serve us the full map of Earth.
Bam.
All right, pause it right here. So what you just saw was the moon, and now you're seeing the Earth, and think back what you just saw on the moon.
Right.
So this is what you're seeing here.
Yeah.
So the electromagnetic reflection, like she was talking about.
Right. And so this is our known world inside these red spheres, you guys. This is our unknown world, but it still shows itself on the moon map. Okay. And so there you go. You're even being shown the other land masses, Hyperborea, all these things are here. Look at the old world maps again and maybe wonder, maybe there's something to all this. Okay. It's highly unlikely that the reflection of the moon in reverse is lined up with the continents. First of all, that's just like a pow in the, you take that in for a minute and you chew on that and think about that. Let's watch a couple more seconds of this because it's just a great explanation on how it's done. all the flight and ship paths. You can look into this knowledge more and more. I'm not trying to cut it slow, that we just have a limited time today, guys. But look, it explains time zones, everything. If you ever look at a deeper meaning of the yin and yang too, it could be the sun and the moon and their light paths and how they blend together equally into a yin and yang. That's a real teaching. I mean, that's probably part of the diode and the anode effect. You know, they merge into each other so beautifully because they respect each other. They're actually illusions that are coming from something else. That's why the harmony of all this is existing, because an illusion would do that, like a diamond, the facets in a diamond, Lucy in the sky with diamonds, all these things. They're telling you all this all the time. So here, I'm going to keep going with a couple of these videos over showing you how the moon changes into this. Take this in. We're going to go kind of quick. Guess what? I don't care less about what you say. Talk about this and that. Take care. Running around, making all that noise. You see? So there's still a North Pole. That compasses still work. All that stuff is real. But the idea of going under how come no one's done it for real, north to south? I mean, come on. It'd be such an amazing thing to go truly north to south around the globe. And people said, no, they have. No, they haven't. If you look at it, they've done glorified circles, which are awesome. It's cool to do, but that's still not north to south circumnavigation, you know, not at all. You have to do that to do that. You can't just say you did that. It has to be physically done. And there's no one that's done that in our history. So, you know, west to east, all that, you're going around a merry-go-round. That's what a merry-go-round is. That's what the maypole, all these things we're doing, all of it is showing you it's all a representation of the same thing. You know, come on. This is the best part right here. We were talking about this too. So not only are the continents there, and you see them on the moon's reflection in the sky, but when you go down and you change the focus level down to only the brightest spots or only the most focal spots, which we're on Earth calling like the acupuncture spots, or you know how they always build things right on the nodes or like the ley lines, all this. Well, all those things are really the hottest energy spots of the continents and all the spots. And if you go down on a filter and take away the continents only to the most energetic spots that are left behind, it's the same map as the stars in the sky. That's unbelievable. So not only are the continents on the moon, but through the moon projected into the water dome above you are all the stars. That's why every year you see the same stars spinning around you and they redo the same game. Excuse me. You don't see different stars all the time. It's the same game done above you as if they're moving and you're fixed in place. So watch as this fades away and look what it leaves behind. Look what it leaves behind. Fast forward a little. So as you keep going away and you keep taking away and you only leave behind you have the stars of the sky. Every constellation is in there. That's ridiculous. You guys, that's ridiculous to be able to do this. Okay, that does not happen. Unless that's something, there's got to be something more to this than this just being, oh, that's perfectly lined up. And also the pinholes in it make the sky above and the stars. That's ridiculous to think about. So, you know, me and Mike have been chewing on this for a couple weeks now and like talking about it together. Look at, like, once again, just look. I mean, think about that. Now when you see the sky and look at it go from the other way. I mean, look at the sky go back to the moon. Watch it. Now, here's an important factor to note. You see how they always show this and it's always off to the side on the moon? Now let's look at some of the charts that we know so well in life here about, you know, signs and different star charts and all that. And you notice how it's always put off to the side like this as well. It's in the same position, which is not just, once again, a coincidence. Okay, like come on. Like, let's see it. Let's see it. So that scar, you know, that spot, it's the same as the Zodiac. It's the same. They're all here. It's all here right in front of you. And it's because that's not a thing up there that's showing it. It's a projection of ourselves. Understanding all this on a deeper level is understanding how light works and understanding why we're truly here. And that's why the scientists can say it's a projection and all these things and get away with saying all this and not lie to you, actually. Okay, these things are all real, but it's real in a different way than you could understand. It's the way your eye works, how your eye can turn vision the other way. Everything is like that in real science and in real nature, and it's showing you that. I mean, there's guys, separate guys, they take a lot of scientific work. They go around certain mountains from, you know, miles around the mountain in every angle, and they triangulate the height of the moon from there. You know, you can do that. You can triangulate things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you ever seen the sun go through a cloud and then the rays that come off the cloud are in an angle? They're not straight direct light. If the moon was, or excuse me, if the sun was 93 million miles away or 90 something miles away, million miles away, the light by coming at you by then would be straightened. It would be straight light and it would hit through the clouds straight. It would hit the earth straight. It wouldn't be bending anymore. You understand that kind of stuff? So when you're seeing it in the sky, literally bending in front of you like that, I mean, it's like the all-seeing eye right in front of you. You can triangulate those light rays back to the sun and tell you how far away the sun actually is. And people have done that. There's a lot of science behind all this. And it's pretty crazy and damning. If you look, there's people that, you know, they can tell you from triangulation, from deep scientists. These guys are not like kooks, man. These are like, this guy works for, you know, all kinds of DARPA. And this is what he does on the side. This is a side project. And he's telling you the projection of the moon is a certain height in the air. It's not nowhere near what they're saying. I mean, we'll get into that a whole nother show, how NASA is the biggest liar ever and they're stealing money. And that's the whole point of it, is just to steal the money, to use it for all their other nefarious programs when they have never left lower Earth orbit. I mean, there's famous speeches of Obama. We hope to finally leave lower Earth orbit. I thought you did that when you went to the moon. So it's just like, come on, guys. They contradict themselves so much. It's like the old, you know, astronauts saying, well, they asked him back, well, how'd you get through the Van Halen belt back then? And the guy literally is so stupid and crazy that he tried to tell everyone that they didn't know about it back then. So they just did it. And now that they know about it, they can't get through it. Oh, come on. Okay. So you guys do your own research and all these things. But the main thing I was dragging into the flat earth theory today is to understand that the ethereal properties of the sun and moon, that they're not actually there. They're not 93. You know, you can't say one and then believe the other two. You got to understand how all this could be one illusion, literally tricking you. So you don't go to the other land masses and you don't observe all the other things. And you think this is a, you know, place where almost like a hell, where you live in a state of constant pay attention to everything. There's not enough of everything. There's too many of us, when really there's endless land. There's islands everywhere. It's not just Hawaii we all fly to. There's like a million Hawaiis, you know. It just blows your mind when you think past the little prison that we've been given as a ball. The heliocentric model was given to us and forced upon us at a certain time through history. You can look it up. And so you might want to just think that there's other things in nature out there that are doing these things. Like, look at the moon. Like, how is that really possible that the continents and all that stuff could be superimposed the other way like that? And it's one of the secrets known to man now that's coming back out to us, is that these are the things as above, so below. You know, the Pleiades. I'm from the Pleiades. That doesn't mean it's up there, though. That's the best way to trick someone. Tell them something they can never get to or never achieve. Go to the moon. It's 90 billion miles away. Fuck you. It's like, they're not that. They're counting on that you believe everybody else's bullshit. And when you do, you create your own bullshit. And so from there, let's just end with a couple little things, some images to look at as we pan out of this topic for today. And, you know, from here, sky's the limit. Again, we can keep going with all this. These are all one story. This is our story in the end. This is our story. So let's just watch some funny things when you see like this. Like, look at this. Look at this plane going like into the sun, and look at the clouds, how the sun's in between the clouds at 93 million miles away. So just chew on this. I mean, I know illusions are real, but this is different.
Whoops.
And so, you know, if you go a little farther, you see things like, look at this. Look at the clouds, you guys, for real. When you zoom in properly with the right cameras these days that we have now, the sun will nest itself in the clouds. You can see the clouds behind the sun. I mean, that's just like, look at this when he zooms in, and all this could be illusions. There's clouds behind the sun right there. I mean, that's not the only video of this. So you watch it, look at this. There's clouds behind the sun right here. You know, those are two different objects. It's not coming through the other one. You see how the other one met the other one? See the different colors, the dark to light in the clouds? That's putting off light in the local area only. Okay, so just think about that. I'm not saying that it's right there, but it's not 90-something million miles away either. If it's doing that to that localized area, it's lighting it up only. I mean, so the idea in the end is to think about your eye does not know the truth, and it's easily fooled. So when your eye is fooled, your mind can then be fooled next. And that's the all-seeing eye. That's the power of the illusion can trick you in every other way. If you think it's real by your vision, you're going to believe it's real 100 other ways, right? So a lot of times when we think the sun is actually setting, it's just going backwards. I mean, look at my hand on here, and look, and I'm not going, you know, down. I'm just moving away from my hand. That's perspective. That's all that is. So in the right conditions, you see the sun physically. You see the sun physically going away, not just setting. It's not just setting. It's leaving your local area, and the noble gases are not lit anymore. The noble gases are in the sky. They create the sky. See it here? It's just getting littler and littler. Only the right conditions reveal this to us. You know, it does set, but it doesn't set how you think. It just goes far away. Light is local. These are one of the biggest lies. We talk about that later too, another time, about light and how they say there's a light speed. You can create light at any given speed. So how is there a light speed? That doesn't make sense. Those things do not make sense. Light can change speeds. It's malleable. It can be created at different speeds. That's a total illusion to think that. So once again, here's a little video of a guy flying over the top of the sun. I mean, these are all could be fake. This is all fake, you know, everything's fake. The noble gases behind it are still lit in the sky. There's still a sky behind it. That doesn't mean this, you know, the sun's so far away.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's crazy, right? And the reason it's crazy is that's why you can't fly at certain heights. All planes are at certain heights for a reason, so you can't do these kinds of things. Only certain planes know this, and they sign NDAs. They know all this stuff already. It's not new. It's not new. It's just easily hid from, you know, the masses.
That's cool.
So there's tons of videos like that, Mike, and we can continue with that another time. But let's just finish real fast with one more thing from Tesla real quick here. Is I'd like to talk about this another time even, and it's funny because it's the same symbol like we learned in the beginning. The Mason symbol is all this as well. These are the symbols, you guys, what they're talking about. I highly recommend you in the end here to stop this. We go study some Rodin math. Look at what Tesla was talking about, 3, 6, and 9. Understand this symbol, you guys. These are crazy dynamics on how light works and how it can create hot spots in the air known as the sun and the moon.
Try to make the world understand. First, we must understand that we did not create math, we discovered it. It's the universal language and law. No matter where you are in the universe, 1 + 2 will always equal to 3. Everything in the universe obeys this law. There are patterns that naturally occur in the universe, patterns that we've discovered in life, galaxies, star formations, evolution, and almost all natural systems. Some of these patterns are the golden ratio and sacred geometry. One really important system that nature seems to obey is the power of 2 binary system, in which the
And so that's something we can learn about later, but that's a good way to end this, you guys. Think with your mind, open your mind, and think the things that you're seeing, not just flat earth. Oh, that's some crazy disc flying through space. It's the flat earth is only the beginning on what it ties into the whole story of free energy and how everything is in abundance and we're all here together. And so we can talk about this forever, you know, and I love you guys. I just wanted to open everyone's mind to the fact of the moon being a reflection and the sun being an illusion and all these other parts of the flat earth theory, not just that it's flat. Water does seek level. So I love you guys. Watch the water. Have a good week. Thank you, Mike, once again for your time.
Yep. Dan, do me a favor and stop the share. I want to share just a couple things. That was fantastic presentation. We as you guys can see, Dan is like not only a Tesla level genius, but you know, he's also you know, sharing great admission information. So as above, so below, the electromagnetic field of the heart. And that's why we talk about the love vibration so much, guys. So the toroidal field there with the heart, like Dan was describing. Now, Dan is not only, you know, a genius, but he's also an excellent artist. And at michaelkjako.com, you can come over here and look at the collection that Dan has created. I'm wearing one of the shirts right now. So you see here,
awesome,
great collection, great artwork. That's MJ, you know, collection. That's by Dan. And we also have someone that's wearing it. So, you know, we have people out there that are loving your stuff, Dan. So one of the members shared with us. So very cool. Thanks.
Very cool. That's very awesome. Thank you guys. You know, and I just want to, I feel like this is a time now to really share knowledge together instead of think who's stupid, what's real, what's not. Let's just put this stuff out there and don't be triggered. And it's not just, you see how we led into something other than just to being a flat earth. The other stuff with the moon and the sun part is so important to learn. That kind of knowledge, you know, is mind blowing, you know, so.
Absolutely.
Keep sharing stuff, you guys. Thank you,
All right.
Mike.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
All right,
Lots of love.
Talk to you soon.
All right.